Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Hey, good evening. It is Tuesday. Tuesday's the night where the worlds and the stars and the moon and the planets all align, and we have Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe.
It's an astrological anomaly.
It's incredible. I take my phone, I took that stargazing app, and I turned it, and it says it must be Tuesday.
It must be Tuesday.
It must be Tuesday. Speaking of Tuesday, tonight is a show. We've done a version of this show a couple of times. We've talked about this, but tonight we're going to be back, and we're talking about the 2023 version of Ben Stowe's favorite apps. So if you want to learn more about the one and only Ben Stowe, tonight is your night.
Just like the Rachel Lynch cooking show we did.
And for those of you who missed that one, that was an interesting night.
Yeah.
That was an interesting night of cookies.
Spoiler alert: neither Rachel nor I are excellent cooks.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. We'll go with that.
It was.
And we got to learn about Rachel's mom a little bit more. Get to
Oh, she's my favorite. She is the star of the show. She's the star of every video. She can't even help it. She
just it works.
and the dog. But anyway, favorite apps. Well, I'm glad you asked me about this, and I thought about it, and it's really hard to pick.
It is. There's just so much out there. It's just incredible. I mean, so that's why it's good. I'm really kind of excited tonight to be able to learn more because, you and I have known each other for a long time, and I have a pretty good idea.
It kind of depends on the night. It kind of depends on my mood, but I picked a few that I think are probably, I don't know. There was a couple that I thought should have been on the list too, and we'll just get into the ones.
Let's do it. It's time to jump into that. So what do you got for us?
So favorite apps, I would say this is a standard. I mean, you have to have, boneless buffalo wings or bone-in. I like bone-in too. And I guess you can't call them wings because they're not really wings. Who knew buffaloes don't have wings? But anyway, it's not actually a chicken wing. But anyway, so hot wings, bone-in or boneless. that would be one of my favorites for sure. Definitely a favorite app. You don't like them? Well, spinach dip, love spinach, and anything in a bread bowl. I am a sucker for anything in a bread bowl.
That's true.
I feel like one of the really great privileges this job has given me is the chance to eat clam chowder out of a bread bowl in San Francisco and Boston. So on both coasts, I've gotten to eat each side of the country's chowder in a bread bowl, and it was really good. But this is spinach dip, and of course, you can't go wrong with that.
Ben, didn't you get the show notes of applications for...
Or not appetizers?
No, applications.
I thought after almost 300
fried pickles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I thought we finally got to do a show on food.
Now that's something right there. That's some good eating right there.
For 30 years, John, I've been typecast as a technology guy. I'm just,
tonight.
Nerd. You know what? I like to eat. Okay, so I thought we were doing a show on food tonight.
John says he can't download chowder. No, we don't use so. It's right. Try.
Alan Trisler says I should stick to my day job. So
there's a critic everywhere, man. Oh,
I guess that just in right there.
Yeah,
Alan, just stick to your day job. Gosh. So, all right. Well, okay. So I guess if we're talking about my favorite apps for my day job, thanks a lot, everybody. This would be probably one of my most used. This is called Audio Tools, and then I also have the optional Smart Tools plugins, which gives me things like you can see there in the bottom, fast Fourier transform, RTA, heat map, spectrum analyzer, decibel meter. On iOS, it's actually pretty accurate. You can load calibration files, and of course, one of the cool things about Apple hardware, I guess, is that they control it very tightly. So, when you build a calibration file for an iPhone, it's a lot more accurate. And I think they've probably made some progress with the Android phones, but there's a lot more variation there. And I'm not picking on Android. I'm just saying that seems to be thus far statistical fact that due to Apple's tight control of the hardware, that the decibel meters and things tend to be more accurate on an iPhone. But anyway, so audio tools is definitely one of them. A lot of cool features in here. Signal generators. Uh, again, probably the most used things for me would be like the RTA you see there, or a spectrum analyzer, spectrograph. That we see. So that would be probably one of my top favorite.
Where are
apps.
you? Where are you using an app like this?
There's a lot of places that our phones basically go everywhere we go these days, right? For at least me, I'm rarely without it. And so, it's nice having a flashlight in my pocket. It's nice having, other resources in my pocket. And this is one of them. Really, it's everywhere I go. And so if I'm at a sound gig and I don't have a full smart suite set up with a microphone and the software and an interface, this is just a really quick way to pull it out and get some information that is pretty accurate. It's kind of good enough, unless you need, super precision, then you're going to get out the smart app and the calibrated mic and the interface, blah, blah, blah. But this is really the good enough, So, and I've compared, with the actual calibrated mic versus this. You have to, the application's called Audio Tools, but you have to buy the smart add-on to get things like this, stuff you see in the window there. But there's a whole bunch of good stuff in that app, and I don't even know what it costs anymore. I think I paid like $50 for it, and now I think it's maybe 20 or 10.
I was going to say, I think I paid about 50 for it too when I was using it, because I think this is one I think you talked about a few years ago, or a variation of this, but it looks like this
Still
one.
a favorite, yep.
Still, yeah. Was there when a person's got the SPL meter there, is there a point where this just isn't effective because it's a cell phone compared to your, the more professional testing system? I think if you get over a certain SPL.
Yeah, you're gonna overdrive that, and we could get into the mechanics of microphones and what they're designed for, and obviously cell phones first and foremost are designed as consumer devices and not designed for high SPL applications. Generally, I find it's good enough for most of the stuff that I do. I tend to mix most of my shows at like 100 and less dBA, and it seems to do a pretty good job there. So I don't really ever get over 105. That's pretty loud, I think. So
sure. Yeah, and I've just happened to notice or watch a video today with a DJ friend there that had put it up, and they had the little SPL meter right there in the DJ booth, and it had to stay below a certain amount. And I think it was about 105 was the number that he said it had to stay below. So this would be able to handle then a similar situation if needed.
Yeah, and 105 dBA. And again, there's a difference there. You can notice the weighting switch on the screenshot. I just took these off of the App Store, but the weighting switch there is in the A position. 105A weighted is really loud. That's really quite loud. A couple key things to think about when you're presented with decibel measuring is where is the measurement to take place? What's the weighting scale? And of course, the other switch we see is fast or slow response. We're going to, have peaks that are going to be higher than our average. So, for me, it's almost always actually in the slow position. Here you can see the switch is switched to fast. So that's not really meaningful to me. So, and there's also cool things, like long-term exposure and so on and so forth. You can get into like, what's my long-term exposure to sound here,
Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea for us to revisit the hearing and protecting our hearing show. We did that one quite a while ago too. And
we did, yeah.
Yeah, that would actually be a good topic. I'll have to put that on our list. Oh, right. What do you got next? Good starting out point. I mean, it wasn't good as fried pickles, but I mean, it was okay.
I think we should go back. Yeah, I was going to say we should go back to the food, honestly. But I just ate dinner, now I'm hungry again.
So yeah, a nice kind of a spicy ranch with the pickles.
Honey, I want fried pickles.
Yeah, let me know how that works out for you. Although I shouldn't be talking smack because there was ice cream delivered on a couple of occasions. And if you guys didn't see those shows, you were really missing out.
You really should go back and watch some of the backlog. We were younger and funnier.
Yeah. But yes, there was a Dairy Queen Blizzard being delivered. It was incredible.
Yeah, and it's still snowing here. But I'm always in the mood for ice cream. Who am I? Walked about, I think it was something like 3 miles in the rain in Boston to get ice cream, and no regrets whatsoever. Speaking of hearing loss, like this.
Text your son.
All right. Yeah.
That's a big fat not getting anywhere. So let's continue.
And my son, he's still in high school. He works at a restaurant. I guess maybe we can see about.
We might have a chance actually. But
my own personal Grubhub,
he brings it home and there's like 3 left. Where'd the rest go? Well, it was a long drive.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes.
It's 2 blocks, Dad. It's a long drive.
All right, so this is about really training your ears, and you can see the intro screen there on the left, and it says tones, EQ, and gain, and there are tests you can take, and you can see that one is in easy mode and one is in expert mode, and the one in the yellow shading, as you can see with the menus in the left, this is tones. So it's going to play a tone, and you have to guess which tone it is. So like, let's say, the tone is a 1 kilohertz tone. If you press the 1 kilohertz button, then you get the question correct. And if not, it'll tell you what the correct answer is.
Sure.
And so you start to learn over time. And that's easy mode, where you're operating really in these bigger chunks. Kind of these round numbers, if you will. You can work in decades or octaves or whatever, but you can get into more granular things where it's like 1.2 kilohertz, and you really better be on your game, and like anything, you just get better as you go. And so on the right here, you can see, decibel differences. Is it 4 dB quiet, or is it 3 dB quiet, or is it 1 dB quiet? And I can tell you that I don't know anybody who can hear a 1 dB difference. So
is it like in that expert mode, does it like play 2 tones and then you have to differentiate, or?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
In the lower right, you can see the power button, and that is to turn the effect on or off.
Okay.
So you press the play button and the loop button, and then, you can kind of toggle it on and off and see the difference. What is it? Is it louder, or not, or quieter, by what factor? And of course, every time we double our power or have our power, we're going to have a 3 dB change.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So, that would be the thing. And this is kind of one of those things where I wouldn't call it cheating, but like, for example, if I can't hear anything, and one of the choices on the frequency is like 16 kilohertz, I'm like, oh, it's probably that one.
It's beyond my hearing.
It's not, and if everything else is audible. Now, if the choices were like 16 and 20, I'd be like, can't hear any of them, so I don't know. But like if I couldn't hear a difference in the change, then I would probably go with like a 1 dB. Although I think 2 dB would be not easy to hear either. But anyway, this is just a great app for just training your ears and getting better, at identifying things like that, so that when you're in a mixed situation and you hear some feedback, or you hear a sound you don't like, or something sounds a little tubby, or crispy, or pick your one of those bad dwarves from Rational Acoustics, which makes the smart software. Anyway, this helps you to kind of figure out where you want to go.
Nice.
Let's see what is next. That I really like this app, the EV QuickSmart app, and I love that now you can see in the middle there's a parametric EQ. I'm like, where have you been all my life? I don't work with the smaller portable loudspeakers very much, but a lot of my customers do.
Yeah.
And I think this app, and there are other apps available for other loudspeakers as well, and I think that's a very cool thing. You can bring in your loudspeakers and control them remotely, and really have quite a lot of functionality, from your phone or tablet. Now, all of these are phone screenshots, but many of these also have a tablet mode as well.
Yeah. This is actually one of the apps, because I've been doing more weddings where we've needed to have our main speakers and then having a secondary set of speakers across the room, and the ability to be able to control those from a Bluetooth app with me here. So if all of a sudden I'm having to play the introduction and I wanted to back those speakers off so they weren't as loud with the music, I can back those off during that introduction time. And then when it comes dinner time, or we're back to that moderate or that low volume, I can bring them back up again for the fill. It's that capability is just so fabulous.
Yeah, it's really, I agree. And of course, the 30M has a mixer on board, and the Verse 8 basically has a little mixer on board. And so to have that functionality built into your loudspeaker and, to speed up your connectivity and just be able to do it, mix it from glass, that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And certainly essential things, I think, with microphones like, low cuts and whatnot,
Yeah.
So, which we can see that effectively being handled here.
Hmm.
I don't need that on a on a microphone. So anyway, now if I was playing music, I'd have to think about that a little differently.
Certainly, yeah.
Anyway, so and I think we're going to see more and more and more app things coming out. Obviously, is I think the iPhone came out in what 2007. 6,
3.
3.
What?
It's mature anyway. I think that the smartphone is a mature platform, and the
Oh yeah,
tablet is a mature
2007. Yeah, you're right.
Was that right?
You were. Yeah.
Nerds for the win. All
Yeah.
right.
No kidding.
So, nerds for the win. Anyway, and no, I didn't Google that, by the way. So anyway, so I think we're going to see more and more of this sort of thing come out. And my next app is another product-based app where you think about the way that we traditionally handle these things, and this changes everything. And that app is the Sennheiser Smart Assist app, which works with their EWD and their new EWDX app. And viewers, if you haven't seen the video that I just did on the difference between the EWD and the EWDX, you should, because, well, frankly, we need the views. But also, it's a pretty good video. I mean, despite the fact that I'm in it, I think it turned out okay. So, but if you think about the old days of how we used to admin a wireless mic, if you were a DJ or a novice user, somebody who had a small channel count, we had our mic and we maybe had a basic menu on the mic, and we would make some changes on that, and maybe we would sync it, and that was usually done by infrared light. So we would hold that at just the right angle and stand on one foot and hold one hand over your head, and then maybe it would sync, right? And that's gotten gradually better. But this changes everything, really. This gives tour management and operational control to every user in the palm of their hands at a very affordable price. Tours historically would have computers connected to their mic receivers, and it was done via network. And we really could see everything. All the statuses of the mic, battery, blah 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 blah, everything. In one place. Really nice for managing high channel counts. But the same thing happens here with the Smart Assist app. And it will give us warnings like, hey, you've got an over signal on, Vocal 1, or we can see in this a screenshot from the App Store, Sarah's mic battery maybe is low, or, it's going to start, really doing a good job of helping us manage even, mid-sized channel counts if we've got 6 or 10 microphones. But even if you just have one, really nice that you just go in here and you can control everything from your phone, wherever you are. Wherever the mic is irrelevant as long as you're within Bluetooth range of it. So we can rescan it. We can change the gain. We can change the AF out level. We can lock the receiver. We can defeat the mute, which is really pretty cool. So if let's say that we've got somebody talking on the mic and they got nervous and fidgety and they hit the mute
button, yeah.
We don't have to have an embarrassing moment where we go up there and say, "Excuse me, you muted it." You can quite literally disable that right from your phone.
Wow.
Just go. Boom, mute is gone. All right, moving on. Also, one thing that I'm seeing more and more of, I've noticed this in a couple apps lately, including the new Chevet FlareCon and Wellcom app, which doesn't make this list. I think it needs work, but they are working on it. I've been working with them on it. But one of the things that I do, and they're going to make it, it's going to be amazing when it's done. I think, it's not on the list yet for me. So. But now you can see on this right pane here, you can see the support hub. They're putting manuals and videos in the app.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah. Imagine that. The answers to your questions at your fingertips, right where you're also going to use the product. So imagine that.
Fancy.
I mean, it's about time, honestly. There are things... And there are things that, even in my own life, of course, you do something a certain way until one day you say, why do we do it this way?
Why don't we do it the other way? That'll be more friendly to
This is
people.
one of those things, I think. Obviously everybody, who has a smartphone and data has Google at their fingertips, but now you don't even have to have that anymore. You just go there and you're like, okay, I need a manual.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da. It's right there.
Yeah. Excellent.
By the way, I don't know if this customer watches the show, but if he does, he'll know who I'm talking about. Had a good talk with him today. We're talking about a new mic system he got and just kind of getting it operational and getting it to work reliably for him. And he mentioned that he had read the entire manual, and I wanted to reach through the screen. I wanted to hug him. I did. I honestly, it made my whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So, hallelujah. As a person who has written manuals, that can be one of the most frustrating experiences because you're spending all this time making sure that the manual is helpful and graphically accurate and functionally correct, and that nobody's going to read it. You're wasting your time. Might as well scream into the void.
There is that.
They're going to call and go, "How do I do this?"
That's where they just reach out and call Ben.
If only I hadn't given up that entire weekend writing a manual. All right, so moving on. This one I don't expect is going to resonate with a lot of our viewers, but it's an app that I actually use a surprising amount because it does a lot of math for me and it does it quickly and makes my life easy. And it is an app called Bridle, and it is for calculating rigging bridles. And we can see on the left there, I can tell it that my beams are, in this case, 7 feet apart. One of them is 22 feet from the floor and one is 25 feet from the floor. That's a weird ceiling, but it's just showing an example. And when I do this, then it will tell me what pieces of steel I need to get the point to land where I want it to. And then you can see the picture. It shows kind of those two different things. And we also have different beam heights, and it's calculated that. We have different, not just the height of the beam off the floor, but the beam itself has a different height. One's a taller beam than the other one. And then on the right-hand side, we can show where it's giving me my loads, where I can say, well, if I have a 1,000-pound load off the shackle, I can see that my left leg is 929 pounds, my right leg is 337 pounds, and there's a horizontal force pulling those beams together of 313 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, if none of that is within spec, and I risk pulling a building down, well, that's bad. We can't do that, right? So
that would be bad, yeah. So
yeah.
So let's put this into a real world important application. So
Okay.
we're out in the middle of the Lake Bemidji there, you see. And there's a Dodge
There's no
out there.
beams in Lake Bemidji there.
There's a Dodge out there, there's a Chevy out there, and there's that Ford that's stuck. And we got to pull that Ford out, but we want to do it from a couple of angles. You don't want to just go and make him feel bad when one of the trucks pull him out. So could we have like a Dodge on one side and then a Chevy on the other to pull out that Ford? And
I feel like I've heard this joke somewhere. This would not be the app for that. This is for static loads for show rigging.
Sorry, Ford, you're going to just be on the ice until it melts and you fall into 6 feet of water.
Well, we know who John's loyalties are with. So anyway. So yeah, it's not again, it's sort of one of those if you know apps, but I thought, well, this is
that is neat though.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to see what happens, and actually I could probably pull up a picture here of how this is implemented practically, if we can bear with me for a second. I can just we get to see my face while I go looking for picture pages. Well, I guess this will have to do. All right.
Well, you're looking at Day mentioned, of course, if we'd known 20, we were talking about hearing in the things, and mentioned 20 years ago, would we have, if we'd have known then what we know now, type of thing. I think in my personal situation with this, while Ben's looking for stuff, is I would have probably used more hearing protection on non-DJ things. Some DJ things for surely, but I would have been lawn mowing. I would have been wearing hearing protection. Even using some of the power chainsaws would have been wearing hearing protection. That wasn't something we did back when we were in our early 20s and we were out doing these things. And that probably would have been a much greater, just because yes, there are times in some of the DJ applications I could have worn hearing protection, but there's many times at weddings I can't because of having to communicate and such, and not having the right stuff to make it so I can hear. So I think that's where it would be most for me. So, okay, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I agree. Mowing the yard, I operate steam locomotives, things like that. I started wearing hearing protection once I got in this career. And so what we're looking at here is we're looking at a stage, obviously, and all this truss and whatnot has to go in the air, PA points. And you'll notice these chalk marks on the stage here. You'll see them kind of all over the place, different circles and triangles and squares. And that indicates the type of the motor and the position of the motor. But if we pay special attention, right here, you can see this one, and I wonder, you can see that I'll just kind of draw this for you. But you see it's got this symbol right here,
Okay.
and that's telling me that this is a bridle. And then we can see some measurements down here, and that's what we would get from that app. So it'll be like, okay, this is a 5-foot side, this is a 10-foot side plus 2 chain links, and these are 5s up here, and what that tells me is that when the rigger puts that on the beams that it's supposed to go on, it should land that point exactly right there. Easy if it's directly between the beams, because then it's what we call an even bridle.
Yeah, for sure. But sometimes it's off. It's off a little bit. Have to be off.
Yeah, so
left to right.
if the point doesn't land up directly beneath the beams, and if we go back when we look at the app, we can see that I'll just draw this here. But if I've got a beam here and a beam here, and I need to land a motor
off to the left a little bit.
Yep. So how do I get it to be closer to this one? This is really hard to draw with a mouse.
No, you're doing all.
This one, right? So that's just these calculations. So when these steel assemblies are built, and the riggers put the points in the air, that motor will in fact land. And you can see kind of down here in the corner, if you don't have a graphic covering it, but you can see that these motors do land right over these points. And all of these will too. These motors are floated right over the points. Here you can see this is another bridle right here, and that motor is in fact dead on right where we want it to be. So that's kind of that's how that app is really important. And of course, you're out here with a laser tape and a physical tape measure, and you're shooting these measurements and you're getting these chalk lines down. And basically about as fast as you're doing that, they're bringing stuff in from the trucks. So this process has to go pretty quick.
Sure.
So having an app that will do that, that's really
advantageous.
Really yeah. I mean, you think about doing this by hand. The old days, I don't know. I don't even remember it. I don't want to remember it. So, but here we can see that if we use these pieces of steel and this beam is here and this beam is here, that's where it's going to end up my point distance and yada yada yada. So.
Nice.
All right. Probably my most used app of all time.
Sure.
I mean, the calculator, and the fact that, I did this deliberately, rotated into the scientific position, because, here I have, logarithmic functions and, exponents and, square roots. And I mean, this is probably without a doubt my most used app. And it's funny because, we who grew up in the, 70s and 80s, whatever, but, we had teachers that say, well, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. Yeah, well, the joke's on you. So, we do. And thank goodness, because, a lot of my job is math, and I really never liked math. I think that's kind of a funny thing. Viewers might say, wow, Ben really loves math. I do now because it's useful to me. I didn't really care about, if one train left Los Angeles and one train left New York, and Billy has 4 watermelons and, Amy's got 16 buckets of paint. I don't care. I don't give a crap, right?
Yeah, you just wanted to know if there was going to be, chowder on the trains.
Well, right. Yeah, exactly.
In a bread bowl. In a bread bowl.
And equally as important to that is I wanted to know that the PA I hung is going to be in the right place and it's going to sound good. And, obviously, I do very, complex logarithmic calculations to figure out things like, decimal and power ratios and that sort of thing. And anyway, the fact that we have a calculator in our pocket now that can do that, pretty phenomenal, honestly.
Very much so.
So, excuse me. Yeah. So I think that's, those are probably my favorite work apps, as it were. So
as far as getting into some of the apps that are more maybe on the personal side. Did you happen to pull a couple of those out for us tonight? Again, because the idea behind Ben Stowe or the Tonight Show is to learn more about Ben.
Well, I don't know if that's the point, but I mean, I want our viewers to learn things that help them be more successful in their jobs.
Oh, we've already done that. They a couple of those apps were like, oh, that's really good. I mean, they're just the SPL app. If they have never used one of those, they're fabulous.
Yeah, it's really good to know. And by the way, I mean, yeah, some of these SPL things that yes, I'm dodging the personal app question. I'll come back to it, I guess, but. It's some of the, you can see DJs. I was at 140 dB. No, you weren't. you're either uneducated or you're a liar. I mean, or both. I don't know. But no, you weren't.
There's no blood coming down from your ears, so no, you weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some more extreme ones. And this was not a DJ that said this was an ad we saw for some, I don't know, some siren or something. It was like 216 decibels, and I'm like. I don't think Krakatoa got that loud. And that, I mean, at some point you got enough sound energy to, start to liquefy things, I'm like, I don't think that happened, because again, every time you want to gain 3 decibels, you have to double the power. So we could go back to our scientific calculator to figure out the difference from that 105 we talked about to 140. It's big. It's really, really big. Like 10,000 times the power for a 40 dB rise. You could, let's see me think here. You could, so 1,000 log 3 times 10, it's 30. Okay, so 30 dB rise is like 1,000, I think. But anyway, it's a lot, is my point, right? It's a lot. So.
Krakatoa. Does it say how long?
Yeah. What did Krakatoa? What did that?
Just the little sound or the little thing that Google had.
Is it like 178 or something?
It didn't. I haven't. It didn't pop open yet.
All right. I don't know. I don't have Google info. I'm gonna try it now.
172. There we go.
Okay, I was close. So I was off by 6 dB, which, by the way, 6 dB is the equivalent of 4 times the power.
Yeah.
So
that was barely anything. 172. That's like nothing.
I mean, to say 178 to 172, I was very close in my recollection of what Krakatoa was, but I also want to confess that being off by 6 dB is still 4 times the power. You would have to increase the power 4 times to get from 172 to 178. So, again, to get to 216 or whatever the siren claimed it would be is not really possible, And by the way, I think you would also go instantly deaf. I'm not an audiologist, but I think you would probably go instantly and irreparably deaf, and possibly... I think you could have organ rupture. I think you could have serious life-altering or ending consequences at 172 dB.
If I remember correctly, wasn't there a James Bond movie where they were going to play a really loud sound, or one of those shows, and as soon as it was going to, or maybe it was an old Batman episode. Yeah, that's it, where the Joker was going to play a loud sound, a loud laugh.
I mean, threshold of pain is probably somewhere in the 140s is probably like threshold of almost not being able to really withstand it pain. So and again, so we're talking a massive difference from 140 to 172. All right, my phone's blowing up with thoughts and suggestions here. So, since I know that Alan is watching the show, I do have a personal app, and Alan, of course, visited and got to observe me waste time by playing it. But I'm not really much of a gamer, but there is a game that I play, and I say it's to relax me, but it's sort of I'm too competitive, But it is good therapy. Alan actually just sent me a shirt because. Anyway, that app is it's based on the classic board game Risk. So I play Risk online, and there are approximately 5 million players in the world, and I am ranked internationally as a grandmaster, and my rank got as high as 22 in the world. So that's something like 0.01% of all players in the world. Not coincidentally, but there is a lot of math in that, where you're doing calculations on, your strategy is sort of based on, probabilities of winning. And I actually read an MIT paper on Risk. Does that surprise anybody? Probably not. So listen, viewers, if you also play Risk online, that's super cool. It's awesome. And come at me, bro. So...
The important things.
That's right.
The important thing.
Notice I didn't give out my username. You just have to figure. You just have to guess. So figure out who I am. But anyway, yeah. No, if any of our viewers do play Risk Online, it'd be fun to know. I'd love to find out who does. But that's just something I do in my on the personal. You asked the personal side. So when I'm not eating fried pickles and hot wings, I'm playing Risk. So
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff there, Benta. Thank you for putting that list together.
Why do I feel like I just gave up my deepest, darkest secret?
Oh, no, that's your favorite ice cream, which we, have given up many a time before.
Believe it or not, I have other deep, dark secrets, but we're not getting to those.
I want to revisit a topic that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and I just wanted to kind of have you kind of rehash one aspect of it. Today, there was this post on Facebook. Somebody had asked about hooking up the mixer, their controller, which has an RCA out, which we've kind of talked about those, going into the house mixer that had XLR mic inputs across the top. And it was like every person there for a while was suggesting just have an RCA to go from an RCA to an XLR wire made for that. So let's just revisit that for a little bit of why that's not the best idea. And I know we've already talked about it, but just I want to take it and I'm going to make it so that this little segment is what I can share.
Okay.
So,
well, I think, maybe I should find the graphics we used for that show a couple weeks ago, but viewers go back and watch that whole show. But in the interest of giving John a soundbite here, ultimately, so when you're talking about an RCA output, you're talking about a line level unbalanced output. And we don't know for sure whether the house's XLR input is line level or mic level. That would be the first thing that would determine what I would do next. If it's mic level, you're going to be sending not only an unbalanced signal, but also a substantially higher voltage than that input is going to be expecting. So we would use something like a direct box, or a radial stage bug, SB5, I think it is, or, some type of device that's going to balance the signal and pad it down to a mic level. Now, if it's line level and the distance from your output is short, it's really not the end of the world to go from an RCA to an XLR. It's more problematic if you were driving balanced into unbalanced. Driving unbalanced into balanced isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world if we have to do that.
So definitely it could work, but there's going to be certain situations, again, distance being one of the potential.
Yeah, keep those runs short. Unbalanced signals, and just because you stick an XLR on the other end doesn't mean it's magically balanced. It's still an unbalanced signal. As soon as you put it to an RCA, it's unbalanced, and that's all there is to it. That's got to be 10 feet or less,
okay.
I think. Yeah, you can go longer, and it's kind of like speeding. The more you do it, the more likely you are going to get caught. So if your cable longs are run, you're going to have greater chance of noise and interference and signal degradation, that sort of thing.
So again, if we're coming out, we get a line level signal coming out, which is a little bit stronger than a mic level. Let's say that their board only has
stronger than a mic level.
Is that
times.
What would we notice if we are? What are we going to hear if we're going from our line level into a mic input and it is at mic level?
Very distorted, especially if you have any real gain at all on the output of your mixer. You're gonna have to run that, at substantially lower signal levels than you typically would, because again, if we go back and watch this show, we're correlating decibel units to voltage, and we're saying, okay, so how many dB down do I need to be to bring that voltage down? And again, we're making assumptions because we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just going to, short answer to your question, you're going to hear a very distorted signal.
And much of this could be solved by going from the RCA on one end to a 1/4-inch jack into a DI box and then jumping over.
Yeah, and there's even DIs like the Pro AV2 or the Pro AV1, which has a mono summing feature, or the radial SB5 is a 3.5 millimeter cable on it, but the Pro AV1 and the Pro AV2 have RCAs on them, so you can go right from the mixing board into those DIs. Shameless plug, we have them in stock. If that's the right solution. But again, what it does is it's going to balance that. Pro AV1 gives you a mono sum option. Pro AV2 will preserve the stereo, so you'd have two XLRs coming out of it, and now you can go 800 feet.
Sure.
You'll go a long ways on XLR.
Actually, that's a good a bridge to another question that I saw come up. XLRs, if I have to run 2 XLRs because I want to go stereo and I want to go a long distance like that, do you have kind of a 2-channel wire harness of some sort out there? Or is there anything like that, an XLR cable that has, instead of 3, the 3 wires in the ground, that it has more so that it's one cable to wrap?
It does exist, and we could make it. You would probably have a break in and a break out on each end. It's not very common.
Okay.
It would be a very unique request where somebody has a specific need. They have this long run all the time, sort of like a snake in some ways.
Yeah.
But this would just be basically like a little 2-channel snake, which could be done with like a, 4-conductor, wire and a ground. But it's not very common. And I've also seen break-ins and breakouts with Cat 6, Cat 5. I have mixed feelings about them. Some work and some not so good. Some work really well. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, but anyway, there are solutions like that, I guess to answer your question.
Okay. I was kind of, because somebody had made reference to something that out there would be neat like that. And it's like, I got to ask.
Yeah, we can make it. We have the cable and the know-how to make it. So it just, I guess it's one of those things. It's not something we'd keep on the shelf.
Sure. Yeah. Not a common thing. So
we build a lot of weird stuff though. It's always fun. I love when people you want to order custom cables or custom panels and they say, well, what's typical? We're like, nothing. Everybody, that's why it's called a custom cable, That's why it's called a custom panel. It's designed for you, and I know that what they really mean is, well, what are some ideas? What are things that other people are doing? But again, that's the beautiful thing is it's application specific. Okay, Alan's now he's trolling me. He says mixed feelings. That's funny. So yeah. Anyway, so thank you for watching, Alan.
Yeah.
I'll lose my number. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I love Alan. Truly one of my best friends, actually. So anyway, you have to kind of think about what's this going to do for me as a person in the field. How's this custom cable or panel going to make my setup faster or make my life better, or whatever the goal of the outcome is. And I always want to think about the outcome before we start talking about the design, because I think by working backwards and saying, well, where do we want to go, we figure out how we're going to get there.
Sure, that would make sense, because sometimes where you want to go and how we think we get there may not be the best option for doing it.
I spend a lot of time telling people that they don't want what they think they want. And I think it would be a lot easier to just take their money and say, sure.
Yeah.
But my personal ethics and integrity just doesn't let me do that. I'm like, okay, I see. I feel a long conversation coming on.
I know, but I really wanted that double cheeseburger that time that you said no.
Well, okay, but Lori told me, actually, I remember very well you and I being in the Philadelphia airport, and you had just turned 50, and you said, now I have to start eating like an adult. And I was like, okay, so how many more years do I have before because I'm not gonna do it. And of course, I'm getting really close to 50 now myself. So I'm starting to think, I'm like, man, do I have to start eating like an adult? Because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to. No, I'm not gonna.
It's the having to, the workout regimen and eating better. And when the kids open a bag of Doritos, it's like, wow, that's not going to be touched by me.
I said I wasn't going to say this, and now I am. I came home and being off the road, and there was a box of Nilla wafers and a box of animal crackers sitting on the bed, and I'm like, that woman knows how to get me. I'm like, all right, I'm coming to bed. And no, it's nothing exciting or weird or freaky. I just wanted the animal crackers. It didn't need her for that part. I just wanted the animal crackers.
Yeah. And now you know more about Ben Stowe.
Yeah, they're way more than you wanted to.
There it is. We finally got it.
Way
All right,
more than you wanted to.
We can wrap the show now. Again, Ben, thanks for.
I like my sweets. It's not just ice cream.
We've kind of established.
I mean, the doctor told me, the doctor said, hey, you need to stop eating sweets or you're going to die. I'd be like, so how long do I have?
Yeah, exactly. Can I get a coupon then for?
Yeah, I just want to know. So I know this is funny now, but because I'm in good health, someday it probably will not be funny. So
yeah.
And if it's not funny to anybody else, I apologize. I'm just trying to live my best life right now. So.
Just enjoying, especially when you've got the kids and such at home, and they like to have those things. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of, Dad, you should have a cookie with us. Okay.
Well, they never say that. That never ever happens. That never happens.
Well, yeah, your son's a little bit older than because my youngest ones are still the ones that are like, yeah, you should have, you get you a bowl of ice cream.
It's more like you ever seen like two lions fighting over a carcass? It's more like that. Now, 'cause even my youngest kids are teenagers.
Yeah, that's
So there's no hey Dad, have a cookie with us. There's Dad, save some cookies for us.
Yeah, exactly. Leave that. Go get your own.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't you know you're not supposed to eat that kind of stuff?
That's right. I'm just I want them to be healthy. So
Exactly. You're just making sure it's not going to cause
just keeping it out of the pantry. That's all.
That's what we're doing. So, hey gang, up next, out in the chill room tonight, DJNTV.com/chill. Tonight's Tuesday night music show. Howie and Brian and Jay. I think Jay will be there, and John. They come in there and they will be talking music. This is at 10 o'clock Eastern here in about 15 minutes at DJNTV.com/chill. And the link should be up for that. And then tomorrow morning, Dan's got a video that drops. Tomorrow night, there will be the Howie and the Tuesday music show will be streaming on YouTube. So you can see those tomorrow night at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock Eastern. And then we'll be back next week for our regular shows. And Ben, maybe we'll get to that cooking show.
We're gonna bake some sweets.
And
then I'll eat them.
I'll be baking cookies. That'll be great. So, everyone, you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you next time. Good night, everyone.